Okay, so we have a new layer here. I'm working in Photoshop, and the file I tend to work in is 11 by 17 inches, because I'm a filthy imperial enjoyer. But this is a size that I'm comfortable printing in, so if I make anything, decide I want to print DPI, I tend to do 300 DPI. But yeah, 11 by 17 inches tends to be what I work with here. So, where are my rulers? So, where are rulers? View. I always forget if it's in view or windows. Okay. So, first off, we're gonna set this up so we can do some, hold on, I need snap as well. We're gonna like set the cut this off into quadrants so that we can do some thumbnails here. So do a half one, half vertically. I'm holding down shift to lock it into the middle more easily. I like to work in grayscale. That's actually very important for me. Yeah, let me know if you guys have questions as we go. But then we'll take our little box select tool and cut this off in its own layer. I'm gonna go down to layer mask. That one's masked. I'm not the most organized, but this is like a rare example of me being a little more organized. But my my layer etiquette is not so disciplined. Pretty much all of my experience is working freelance, so I haven't had anybody breathe down my neck to like make me more organized. DPI 300, streaming just the software. Be nice to see if you stream the screen so we can drop down menus go into if possible. I'm sharing my screen for what I'm working on. I'm not sure I understand. I guess I didn't realize that it wasn't showing the drop down menus. I'm sorry. But yeah, we are just doing a layer mask on all four of the quadrants here. And to pull up rulers, that's in the view tab in the top. And so is snap function, if you're not familiar with where those are. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that you wouldn't see menus this way. I'm sorry. So we've got these separated, and we can be a little messy, so it's not like a huge deal. But now we can zoom in because our brush will only go in this box. So for the character we're working on, I asked some buddies of mine what RPG characters they had laying around just as prompt fodder here. If that makes sense. So we have like this ranger dude. This is the only ref I've got. But he's going to be sort of a Victorian Gothic ranger. He's supposed to be like a sibling to like a Dr. Frankenstein type character and is a hunter, monster hunter. So Monster Hunter, oh, it's a different series. So we'll kind of jump into that here. I don't really have a plan. This is going to be kind of us feeling it out. That tends to be how I work here. But we'll be trying to find some interesting human poses. And so yeah, I've got my opacity and my feathering, like tapering. I don't know what this is actually called. I've done so much of this automatically. It's the pressure size tab. We'll just be kind of feeling it out. So he's got like a half cape, or I guess it's like a full cape, but it's kind of a short one. Oh, I still have the feather eraser on. I'm using a custom brush too, by the way. It's not absolutely crucial, but it's something that I think I would encourage others if they don't already have like a custom brush. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be necessarily one that you make, but like, because I have ones that I've bought way back in the day that I still like, but I tend to stick to this one. It's just something I've kind of found as a comfort where I get enough energy out of my strokes and texture that I can use it. So I kind of have like a head here. So I think first off, like, so we can go in a few directions, right? We can go more action-y, we can go more relaxed, we can go zoomed in, zoomed out. It depends on how much work you want to put, but the idea is that you would come up with 4 options that are pretty varied. So I think since he's going to be like hunting for clues, oh, hold on, shouldn't have moved it that way. I was on the wrong thing. It's been a while since I've worked this far. Oh, right, let's unlink it. Now we can move. There we go. So yeah, so I unlinked the chain here so that when I free transform this, I am not moving the mask. Enter. Yeah, this is going to be kind of like a basic intro to kind of how I work here. Notice I'm doing a lot of like little swoopies, little moves. I don't know why Windows keeps trying to show me notifications. I want to read chat. Okay. So I'm thinking of doing like a kneeling pose for this one maybe. It doesn't matter if it's like too loose or needs like some fixing up later. We can always revisit these, but we're just kind of like getting a gesture in. And I'll be for real, like I'm still kind of getting used to the idea of like working live like this, so this might not be my best. But yeah, since we're focused on character art, we're not going to worry too much about background. Like that is somewhat optional in this format for me. But I'm using my eraser tool to kind of carve out some edges here too. I'm used to kind of doing this all on one layer as well. Let me know if I'm like going too fast or need to like slow down or something. But I think I'm going to have get the idea across visually. That's all. You're killing it, bro. Oh, okay, thank you. I want color picker. Yeah, no, this is like it's great if you can get it as legible as possible for your client. But the goal here is to kind of get ideas across. So we'll be doing like a little bit of detail here and there, but like really this is just to kind of get some ideas on paper. One lesson I really took to heart in school was from a painting class. The idea of like covering your canvas first, right? Before you really get into the nitty-gritty, I think is a very applicable lesson for a lot of things. So it's definitely going to be like darker. I'm imagining almost like in like a cathedral or something. So we're just going to be like implying space in the back a little bit. But we don't need to go crazy. In fact, this line is not totally helping me. Yeah, a big part of this process is just kind of like going with the flow and identifying things that need to either be emphasized or removed as you go. Getting used to working live is definitely a thing that takes time to get a feel for. Yeah, for sure. I've been doing a little bit of live streaming on Twitch that way. But if I turn this into a regular thing, I'm thinking of doing these weekly for you guys. These little demos. That'll definitely be a way to get me more used to things. Yeah, weekly would be great. It'll depend on my schedule though, so the day might change. I believe next week I am going to be at a convention, so next weekend. Oh, you know what? I've got touch on my screen. That's why it keeps jumping around. So since we're going with like a more relaxed pose, this was meant to be like part of the cape over here. I'm going to actually pull that back a bit. We can still have some negative space over here. And yeah, we'll be adding details as we go, so we don't want to get like too hampered, but just want to like imply some things. Like he's got like a big belt over here. And when you think Ranger, like most people think like Aragorn first, right? So that's kind of a go-to. Like you definitely want to put your own spin on things for sure. Be creative where you can, but not at the cost of like expectations, I guess. Or at least like take that into account, you know? Although to be real, like people should know what they're getting into if you have like enough work to show off. It's kind of on them to find an artist whose style they already like. So yeah, with the silhouette, we've got like this arm kind of in the foreground, which is going to be a little tricky, like coming into our space. But it'll be nice if we have at least the hand kind of in a silhouette against our contrast in the background. I'm kind of imagining him like grinding some like silt or something between his thumbs, sniffing the ground. He's on the hunt. And you can have something, maybe blood, like there was a murder or something that's being investigated. Maybe like a hand peeking into frame. You can do some like god rays in the back. Notice how I'm already kind of influencing like the composition a bit too with this. This is something I kind of have even just like stopped thinking about. It's just like something my eye is trained to see, but like I'm very fond of diagonals, kind of pointing the viewer in. In fact, right now he's a little too center. I'm gonna unlink our mask again, and I'm actually gonna scoot him down a bit. I think I want him a little lower in the scene, because otherwise we end up with a lot of space down here that's not super necessary. Whereas I think we get more out of having more space up top. It'll help us give room to inform kind of the setting a bit more and like emphasize the space above. Although we're not going to go into super high detail here. So this isn't terrible already. The figure is pretty dark, but we can push the contrast as we go. Sometimes it's easier to add to like a negative space, I guess is a good way to put it. But it depends. Some people have different comforts. But basically the idea is establishing... I should mention, yeah, the goal here of like working in gray tones and like midtones is we're trying to push our tonal hierarchies, or value hierarchies, I should say. I always say the wrong thing there. But this will be informing our contrast throughout like the whole thing, because we'll be layering color on top initially when we get there, and actually think we can do some backlights. It's kind of a cheap way, I think. Like I try not to rely on this too much, but like having some like rim lighting on the character is like a nice way to kind of place them in the space. Although here we do have most of our light behind us, so it's kind of gives us an excuse, right? But we can mess with the lighting more as we go. We don't want the figure like too dark. Well, it depends on whether you're going to print this. Is there a reason in particular the brush you chose to sketch with has an arc to it? I know you mentioned build up swooshes. I wonder if there's a reason. So yeah, so I figured people might be interested in my brush. This is what it looks like up close. It's inspired by like Bob Ross's technique with like stamping in like trees mostly. It's kind of like the impetus for it. So you can like tap it and get some nice texture that way too. But I also like I shouldn't have done that so many times. But without the opacity and stuff, it's also got like this nice streak to it. And the arc leaves some angles on the edges. And I don't know how to put it into words exactly, but I feel like it adds like a nice energy. I just find it to be pretty versatile. Like I don't need to mess around with brushes too much. And for me personally, I can get distracted easily, or like hung up on certain things. So the less I have to think about, the faster I can get into a like what do you call it, flow state, the better. And the less things that take me out of it, the better. So I'm going to call that good for this one. We want to try and move on here. We're already 20 minutes in, but we'll see if we can get to the second phase here. So I'm trying to remember, if I do a layer on top, then yeah, that doesn't work. We want to stay in this side layer. A common mistake when using masks is you'll be on the mask layer, I think by default. So you want to make sure that you're not selected on the mask when you start your painting or drawing or whatever you're doing. So here I think we'll want to switch gears a little bit and do like a more personal up close like portrait style, just to give that as an option too. This one I did already kind of have an idea for ahead of time. You'll notice I'm not even like referencing my reference too much right now. That'll be mostly for details, and we're not super worried about details just yet. But I am keeping in mind that the character is going to be in kind of a spooky setting. So I want them to look kind of morose and serious and somber, which is up my alley. You know, I would take that into account ahead of time when being given the prompt and be like, oh, this is something that I can definitely feel pretty confident in, you know? And I'm already like leaving some variation in darks and lights on the character. We can push those as we go. I'm actually, working all in one layer like this, I haven't been doing as much lately. I'm used to kind of doing like a back layer and stuff, but this is going to be easier to keep it all in one place, so you don't have to worry about the mask. It's just cleaner, really. I mean, you could do it. Okay, so like you could do it this way. If you wanted to do the masking at the end, you could do all your layers and like condense them into a group if you want, but this is just kind of the way we're doing it right now. So since we're kind of doing like a Frankenstein thing, and hey, this is kind of appropriate, it's almost Halloween, and we can do like a castle silhouette kind of thing in the back, and I always find a way to put lightning into my pieces, but we can do like some lightning striking the thing, right? And notice I'm like not too concerned with like accuracy, right? Like you can kind of, I'm a believer that you can pretty much draw whatever you want if you try, and like it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's going to be the version you make, right? Like something you might hear a lot is like artists saying like, oh, I can't draw this, you know, I can't draw that, and I tend to disagree with it, with the notion that there are things like that that's just like you can't draw. It's like you can draw your version of it, right? So like I'm not looking at lightning reference, but I've done lightning enough times that I can kind of like, you know, I can get the gist. Again, like you can reference like more accurate material later to get the details more right. It just involves some backtracking, I guess, which I don't know, may be discouraged in certain settings, but when you're your own boss, I guess you can kind of do it however you want. Although I don't know, you have to take into account too if you're doing like an hourly pay or like a flat rate. I don't know. It's up to your discretion on how efficient you need to be with your time. But we're just kind of we're chilling, we're vibing right now. So he does have a beard and like blue eyes, kind of shaggy mop from what I remember. Just as we pull this up so that people can remember. It's actually not too far off from like a character I did for an author client I have for one of their main characters in their book series. It's kind of similar. But yeah, I'm staying kind of in mid ranges here, you know, so we can like push that more as we go. But I'm just kind of like feeling out the lighting and like angles on the face. And notice that we have like all this like texture. It's like loose, right? A rat rate for Skaven clients. Yeah, for sure. Do we have a mustache? We do. It's kind of thin. So it's not going to be like too present, but you want to like just start gesturing it a little bit. And yeah, like the more you work quickly, like don't think too much, I feel like it gives, at least in my experience, I don't know if this is true for everyone, but like working quickly kind of gives you less opportunities to overthink, and it lets you kind of access your mind's eye a bit more. The neck might be too thin. Nah, it's all right. I always make hair too big, so we're going to be resizing. That's one of the perks of, before I do that, make sure the mask is unlinked. Perks of working digitally. Just trying to catch that early before I get too far. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so like just kind of leaving in rough texture marks, right? You might accidentally find that you've made a decent nose shape, right? And you can kind of lean into that. But a big part of my approach is identifying things like that as you go so that you are not accidentally losing that ahead of time. And it's mostly going to come with experience, but that's why we practice. So yeah, this is getting maybe a little further than we need to. I'm leaving the eyes mostly in shadow. I'm going to be like sort of implying them before I like add too much detail. But like foundational skills will definitely come into play here too, though I don't mean to undermine that with what I said earlier, but like familiarity with like drawing a face, you'll know like where the darkest spots are is like the lips, nostrils, and like eyelids at times, but there is like a fair amount of dark spots, and I don't know. You'll become familiar with it as you go. I don't know if I feel like the most qualified to be teaching like anatomy, because I usually just kind of like do, again, my version of certain things. I don't get too hung up. But anyway, we've been zoomed in a while, so let's zoom out. Kind of add some swoopies here for the cape. I'm going to do like a dramatic thing. He's kind of mewing right now. It's a little distracting, so we're going to soften that mouth just for my own brain a little bit. I'll add some highlight to the bottom lip. But yeah, we've got like I'm going to do like a dramatic swoopy cape. He's kind of looking head on to the camera, but we can like change his eyes. Like you can direct the viewer with eyes as well, you know. Like here we kind of use the God rays to motion things. This is also the benefit of doing multiple skews too. Notice how the quality is already changing quite a bit. I think that's fine as long as you're moving, right? Because that's the thing, is like you'll be re-inspired. Like you just got to get into that the state of mind, right? And so like you're like, ooh, this level, like this approach is coming out a lot better. You now have this as a visual reference for what to go back to, and you can add in some extra detail using your own work as a reference there. That's helped me a few times in the past for sure. But yeah, don't want to go too crazy with this one. We can add some like darker clouds in the back to kind of like close in our view of the scene here. And we'll jump to our third piece. And notice, yeah, like I think this one came out much better too because I had kind of an idea in my head ahead of time. And so this next one, we're going to have to kind of wing it again with a little less in our heads. But we can do like an action pose. I think we can show off. I think one thing we're missing is showing off. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Branch. We can show off this person's skills as they're described by my buddy as more of a fencer, but we'll try doing like an action shot here. I already like this. I'm kind of using this as like a center line. I'm identifying that pretty quick, right? I don't want it too dark here, but I think we have like a nice head tilt, which is a little tricky to do on purpose consciously. So I think we're gonna like take what's working here and lean into that already. And like I've kind of stopped doing it this way, but if you want to be more structured about it, like that means that our shoulders are back here and at a slant, and we can kind of start curving our body to get like a more dramatic shape, right? The trick is going to be keeping that because as you render, you tend to like, I don't know, things tend to stiffen if you're not careful. That's another benefit to doing things this way, I find, is that staying loose as long as possible helps you maintain that energy, or it does for me. I can't speak for, results may vary, but the best I can do is show you kind of what I do. And I think there's something to be gained from practicing approaches, even if it's not exactly what you would find intuitive. Something that I also took to heart from school is that there's like crossover applications for knowledge gained from various mediums, right? Okay, I don't hate this. So like you could work in 3D and that'll help you become like a better painter, if you think about it that way. Like I always felt like there were some people in school that were missing out a bit because they sort of take certain classes as sort of a blow-off class of like, well, this isn't my major, so I'm not going to like try as hard or like think about it as much. But there's if you're paying attention, you can like think deeply about what you're working on. I'm not totally in love with where the arm is ending up here. Let's see if we can maybe pull this in, angle it. Yeah, okay. I'm getting something here. But yeah, you can take stuff that you learn and apply it to other disciplines. And even there's even a benefit, even if the only benefit is, man, that was so hard. I'm so looking forward to going back to what I'm more comfortable doing. That's a benefit too, because like you're gonna be rejuvenated. It'll help you avoid burnout sometimes. This neck is a bit too big. It's kind of giving me like Clive Rossfield vibes a little bit from FF16. I think that's gonna be inevitable. It's sort of a similar character here. He's got a little front skirt. He has like, the nice thing about this pose is it's nice and open, so we can emphasize the front of the design. This one's definitely going to be more ideal for showing off the costume. So that's the thing, you kind of have to measure the benefits and trades of different poses. And I actually kind of like how this is trailing off here. So actually what I think I'm going to do is, instead of continuing down with the leg, I'm going to start filling in the back for contrast and kind of let that energy maintain. I mean, it makes sense too, because we're going for like a actiony pose, right? So like you kind of want to perhaps have like a different approach a little bit. This is already, I think, reading clearly enough just with like the little detail we have here, but I want to push it just a little bit. That time my finger just hit the scroll. We'll add like a little bit more light for contrast. Yeah, hopefully this is making sense. I feel like I'm going kind of fast, but I'm trying to make good use of the hour here. My plan is we'll probably have to cut this off. Like, I mean, obviously we're not going to do the whole thing in an hour, but we can pick this up again at another date. Because to go over quickly like what we're doing here, just to reemphasize for people that might have missed the beginning, we're starting with 4 thumbnails, and then the idea is we'll pick one and kind of maybe try some variations or like explore that a bit more, but that'll be largely informing what we use as a foundation for our final piece. I think I like where he's at in the picture here, but we don't have like a ton of room. So this is definitely going to be like a more abstract one. Although I suppose you could maybe fit like a figure into the back if you wanted to give them something that they're implied to be like facing off against, but I'm okay not doing that. A big inspiration for me is like Noriyoshi Orai's work on posters and like covers for stuff. I'm kind of seeing that a little bit come through here. Having like a front figure facing the camera, but then you can have like a big scary face of like, ooh, who's menacing in the background. Is the viewer should be able to sort of put together that these are opposing forces, right? Even with them not directly confronting each other. So you can think a little bit out of the box, you know? Like, it's probably obvious to some people, but like, I'm trying to be thorough with my explanations. Actually, like how this trails off here. Oh, so what I just did too, by the way, to get that straight edge, because my style is like very loose, right? Let me see if I can remember. I did it so automatically. Okay, so yeah. If you leave a point in Photoshop, I don't know if this applies to other programs, but I'll show you what I know, and hold shift and hit another point, it'll connect a straight edge there, and you can just hold it and keep doing that. We learned that kind of late into our raster class, and I remember very clearly one of the students asking the teacher, why didn't you show us this earlier? And I bet he just forgot, but he's just like, oh, well, you got to learn how to do it the hard way before you learn the shortcut. And I'm like, that's bullshit. I mean, there is a benefit to that, but, you know, like, it's worth it to try things, even if you know they're going to be difficult. I think that's the best way you're going to learn, just in general. Like, challenge yourself regularly, right? We have an opportunity to kind of, like, play with our ability to paint hands. Like, speaking of trying difficult things, a lot of people don't like doing hands. Even I kind of, like, mess up sometimes like that. But that's one thing that's worth studying, but it's also worth trying. I definitely find that I have an easier time when I use kind of spirally motions. But again, hands like are definitely something you want to like go and fix later, probably with reference. But you don't need to do every individual finger is kind of an important thing to keep in mind too. I always do kind of like super dramatic finger poses. But like some of them can you can kind of mitten some of the fingers together. Thumb's a little crazy. I have a feeling the hand is a little small right now too, so as we like carve the shape, we may want to, yeah, it looks a little small maybe. So if we're gonna free transform, we unchain our mask, pull it down. We can have it go a little limp too. Relink, and we fill in our gaps here. Put that back together. Glue that all back into place. Oh, he does have like gauntlets. So actually some of this is going to be lost, but we'll leave some of the light intact. But we'll just sort of emphasize the edge. I don't know. We're getting hung up on a hand. That's for later. But I don't hate this pose. We can work with this. And I don't even have like much detailed on this hand here. But I'm just like placing it so that I kind of get where I'm putting it. I find that like my sketches are probably hard to read to other people generally, but it's important as long as you know where you're gonna put things, and if people find it legible. Although if there's a pose that you think is gonna be cooler than the rest, maybe make sure that one is extra legible so people tend to pick it more. So you're like, ooh, I kind of know which one of these is gonna rule. You can let people know too, like which one you're kind of feeling. I wonder if would it look too goofy to have like the leg back here? Like you'd want to like foreshorten it harder, but like have like a heel poke out. Yeah, I think so. He needs like a sturdier pose, so we'll have the leg kind of shooting off there. But yeah, this is a different approach. It's not terrible. But now that leaves us with a fourth option. We've kind of covered a lot of our bases, so we have to get a little creative. And that's good, because it's going to push us to try and maybe come up with something that we didn't think of originally, right? So we could do like an in-motion piece, or maybe like a more atmospheric, I don't know. We don't have them just like fully standing. Let's just kind of feel it out a little bit. You want to try not to overthink. You just kind of want to start moving and see maybe what your hand's doing. And I'm not pressing super hard, I should point out. I have the opacity on specifically to leave these little like blotches, because that's texture we can make use of. I always think about like when I was a kid, like what I used to do for fun is like do scribbles and then try to see if I could find like a face or something in it. And I think that really does sort of apply in a lot of ways to my approach as an adult here too, is I can get kind of stuck when it comes to decision making. I can be a little indecisive at times. So my goal is to find a style. Just looking at the size of the cape. Oh, it is like a half cape. I've been giving him like a full cape. Well, that's cool. That's gonna look great. What was I saying? But I'm taking away some of the decision making from myself. I'm just letting my hand sort of go with like vague ideas I have, and then being sort of an opportunist about it to find things that are working and cut out things that are working less, if that makes sense. So a lot of this, like as a mentorship like premise, a lot of what I would be trying to sort of like get people used to is identifying things that are working quickly and identifying things that aren't working quickly, so you can course correct. It's like the biggest thing we want to avoid is spending too much time on a piece that could be stronger if we maybe even at times just scrap it and start over. Because like if one of these just like wasn't working, I would just completely maybe restart it, and that's fine. Like that's going to save you time actually. You're not going to spend so long trying to fix things. You're just going to be, I don't know, you're resetting. Like I feel like it's self-explanatory, but like when you restart, there's another chance. You're re-rolling the dice to see if you can get a better roll. Maybe that's a good way to put it, because I don't totally know what I'm going to come up with here. But we have some interesting lighting here. We've got a bridge of a nose. I'm seeing like this triangle here is a good like eyeshadow, so we're gonna kind of lean into that. We already even have like secondary lighting a little bit on that side, so we could like lean into that even. If we want to lean into it even more, we should start adding some core shadows just to like section it off, and you can like smooth those out later, but helps inform in the meantime. Whatever gets you excited about continuing a piece, right? Like you wanna see something that works, and go, ooh, this piece is gonna be cool. This is gonna be a good one. And sometimes it takes a little while to get there, right? Like, for sure, for me it does at times, and I get kind of in my head about like whether this is going to work or that's going to work, but that's why it's important to just like move and like don't think about it. And as you progress, like as you get better and more experienced or whatever, you're going to have an easier time spotting these things, or your hand's going to become more accustomed to doing things in a way that you tend to like and get inspired by. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. Sometimes I worry that like my talking about art can get like a little too abstract, but I kind of have to, because I feel like it's important to just like my relationship with like how I've progressed. Is a lot of it, I don't know, like there's a lot of progress you can do as an artist or like reach as an artist without even necessarily being diligent about drawing every day, as long as you're thinking about that stuff every day. You know, like you're thinking about getting better, you're wondering about it, looking into things, trying new stuff. Like practicing every day is going to help a lot for sure, don't get me wrong. But there's other things you can also do in the meantime. And I find that during low points where I hit like a burnout, you know, and kind of take a break for longer than I mean to, when I come back, I find that I'm making some of the best stuff I've ever made. And I'm just like, I've always been confused, like, how does that happen? You know, I haven't been, you know, working this whole time. I've just been struggling. But like, as you grow as a person, you're also going to understand more about what kind of things you want to make, if that makes sense. It's a little, I have kind of like a tilt here on the shoulders for me to, for a second, like dip back into what we're doing here. But I have, okay, so I kind of want the shoulders down a bit more, I think. I want to broaden them just a bit. He's a ranger, so he's not like a heavy class, but we do want just a bit of strength conveyed, a bit more like structural soundness, integrity. Yeah, see, like what I just did here with the arcs is like, if you're going to have like a dip in the shoulders, the waists are always going to mirror it. That's something I learned from painting. That is definitely something that you wouldn't just pick up by vibes. So a good mix of approaches, I think is a good thing. I think this arm might be a little bit small for the way we have it depicted right now, so let's unlink our mask before I forget, and then we're going to pull this down. And I'm always tempted, although I don't want to get too repetitive, like in the piece I have for the thumbnail for this stream, I have like a character where the sword is pointed in, and I really like the way this complements as like a compositional tool, but I don't want to get too repetitive either. But still, having like a more relaxed pose is kind of, I think, what we want here. I think it's what the doctor ordered. I think my thighs are a little small. Thanks for doing this live session. What would you say are the biggest contributors to you getting commission work for character art? Are there specific methods you use to get your name out there? Mostly referrals? Jarvis already answered. No, it hasn't been. That's a great question. For me, I definitely floundered for a bit and wasn't sure back in the day, and obviously like the climate is different nowadays, but it is something you need to be like kind of active in. I was lucky and had a friend who was able to introduce me to a community of live action role playing, and they were looking for artists, so that was how I got my first like boost. And like, not gonna lie, luck plays some part in it, but you can increase your odds of finding a market of people if you put yourself out there and like actively try to like seek out communities for people that are already like kind of into the stuff that you're, you know, looking for. And yeah, like make your presence known and sort of introduce yourself. It's not guaranteed to work, but it's a better odds of it. As long as you're like, yeah, if the most you can do is like, from my perspective, is do what you do, right? Like make art and try to advertise it effectively to places where you think people that are interested will see it. It's a straightforward idea, but it's tough. You know, it's hard to get people's attention. So like it takes time for sure. But that's where like I would say consistency also comes into play. Like it's not going to be something that like, I mean, it might happen overnight, but that would be very rare. You don't want to go in with the expectation that you're going to find your audience immediately. But the longer you stick with something, the greater your odds are. And I would say, too, is when you do get a bite on the line, so to speak, as an artist, and you start getting some work here or there, even if it's not something that you were like totally gung-ho about, I would say lean into it and try to maximize that impact as much as you can. Oh, when did I end up on a new layer? Just now, I guess. Yeah, you want to like see if you can make that work for yourself. Like I emphasize, like as artists, we don't have the luxury to be like super choosy about, or as like artists that start out especially, you don't have the luxury of being super choosy about opportunities. They'll kind of show up. So you want to make good use of them when they do, I guess is how I would put it. But yeah, I definitely felt a little silly back in the day when I'm like, I should have thought of this. I was just like, why didn't I like look for like a Facebook group or something? And nowadays, like there's a Discord for everything. So to put this into more like specific application, I would say like, yeah, see if there's like, for areas of interest that you're already kind of maybe aware of or maybe not aware of, I would say like look for community gatherings and see if there's like a Discord you can join or something like that. What kind of exercises do you do to warm up? Sorry if you've already talked about this. Oh, no, you're good. I kind of am jumping around a lot, so I haven't really talked about it. Technically for warm up, I would say it's two things technically. I would say this is the warm up, if that makes sense. Because like notice the progression here. Like our style has changed as we jump up and around, and we can backtrack and go back to this. Like there's definitely less variation. We went like a little dark and stuff, but we can revisit this. So you'll pick up steam as you go, and you can apply that to previous stuff. But also I would say some of my warming up comes from just like, I guess thinking like allocating like mental space to the topic ahead of time. Like just like I'm thinking about the character and just kind of brainstorming so that I come in with some idea. I don't know. I know that's not super helpful, potentially. But yeah, I would say like my approach is pretty chaotic. I just tend to dive in and like I'll suck for a little bit and then I'll stop sucking as I get into the zone and the flow state. And you can restart as many times as you need. So here I'm adding like a little boundary line, and it's Control H to get rid of your rulers. We've got like a decent little spread of 4 here. We're not adding color yet, by the way. This is just to get an idea for like composition and pose. Some experience here. I figured a lot of people would want to hear your experience. Yeah. No, that's great. I'm glad that glad that my experience is applicable. Like you're gonna check me, and like if I say something that doesn't sound like it's as helpful, I want people to point that out. But yeah, that has definitely been my experience. And yeah, if you're sending this to a client, you always want to make sure things are labeled so people can accurately describe what they like from what. I always encourage clients too, when looking through here, like if there's something that they want to pick and choose from, like certain poses or hairstyles or whatever, it depends on how much detail you put into these. You can kind of mix and match and combine things for sure. Fine, when I jump into drawing like this, I get hung up on details, but I guess that's where the thumbnailing comes into play and time management. Yeah, my goal with this approach is definitely to try to avoid that as much as possible. Avoid getting hung up on details and kind of get your foundations set up ahead of time. Because like, let's say like with B here. Is this one? Yeah. So I think we can up the contrast a little bit. So to save time, we'll just go, and you can't see the drop menu, but I'm going into brightness and contrast under image. And I'm going to bump it a little bit. Actually, a lot of bit, I guess. Just so that we've got a good variety of dark and light tones. And then I'm doing a layer on top And I'm going to do Control-Alt-G so that it is only pertaining to what is underneath it. I'll do hard light as a layer type. The thing that's just above the layers. And then we can start like laying in some color, just as like a preview for where we're going with this. And maybe have the opacity up here too. Like just to kind of show off like what we're doing here is that by not spending time on details, you're actually going to be saving time later, because all this information that we laid underneath is going to be informing what's above it. I don't know, maybe that doesn't totally directly apply to what we're talking about detail wise, but my point is that like by not spending time, like it might appear like we're skipping some steps, like when it comes to detailing, but this is going to make it a lot easier to fill stuff in later. Like it'll take less effort to kind of get this looking right. I actually don't like hard light. I think vivid might be more what we want. You can mess around with this too, but this will be something we'll talk more about as we progress. I'm just kind of doing this quickly to kind of show some stuff. But yeah, we are just about at the end. Still love the first one so much, so dramatic. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's worth cleaning up. I think the pose could use like a little bit more like what's the word? Like side movement, horizontal movement. We can like move the leg out a little bit, dip it under here, like close that in. Want to darken it a bit under. And yeah, the lighting I think in this one's going to be like the strength, so you can lean into that for sure. Yeah, you'll be like it's got potential. It's not a total write-off. I don't think it's the strongest one in its current state, but it can be. And that's kind of, I guess that's part of what I want to impress onto people is the idea that like not getting too hung up on details for that reason too, is just like you can fix stuff later. Like as my journey as an artist has been a lot of like sucking until you don't suck, right? I definitely did not start out as strong as some people that end up on this path. There was a lot of uphill work to do. So I definitely want to encourage people to be optimistic, but also not get too attached to like any one thing you're doing, right? Like you can scrap it and start over. Sucking at art is life. No, for real, it is. And you're learning every time, right? Like I think it's a pretty known saying that like, I'm gonna go ahead and stop my recording here real quick. I don't know if I need to do a sign off, but yeah, it's a known saying that like you're gonna learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes, and I think that's very true. But you're gonna be more successful the more you do it. So yeah, that's about it. We ended. That was a great use of the hour. I think we ended up with our 4 thumbnails. That's great. And so yeah, no, that's pretty quick, right? So like if you were feeling good that day and wanted to like get out a commission in a day, you're on track to do so. Not that I would advise setting turnaround times quite that short for yourself. You want to give yourself some time to relax a little bit, or like go at your own pace. Spend some more time like building up ref material if you want to make more use of that and have like more detail. I definitely like I have Pinterest open on a page that I have for like costume details in case we got that far, but that will be next week, I think. Yeah, no, I think we'll leave it there for now. Does anybody have any questions for me before we kind of wrap up? Now would be a good time. But I also just want to thank Dustin for giving me the opportunity to kind of show this off. This went better than I thought it was. Like normally I do, oh, no problem. My pleasure. Normally I was kind of doing some of this stuff on Twitch, and it was kind of a similar vibe of me just like talking about what I'm doing, and I felt like I was kind of already kind of teaching a class on it in a way, so I figured it made more sense to just do it here directly. You know, the people listening are more likely to be people that care about the stuff I'm saying, so that makes sense. No, thank you. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Give people another minute or two if they want to ask questions, but I don't want to snub anybody. But yeah, no, I think this was fruitful. And yeah, like I said, this used to be sort of my approach to doing commissions back when like I was starting out getting work for what I'm doing. I'm still not like I'm still kind of like making up stuff as I go, but I don't do so much of this now, commission style. Cameron, do you want to drop some of your socials in the chat? Sure. I think yeah. Okay, I can type. Next time. When's the next class? What are the deets? I'm gonna look at possibly Wednesday and not Thursday is kind of what I'm thinking, because my convention is sneaking up on me and I'm gonna need to leave on Thursday, I think. So I'm probably gonna say Wednesday, next Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time, same as today. That would be good. But yeah, I'm Crooked Nose Arts on most things. On Blue Sky, spell it correctly. On Instagram, I'm actually Crooked Nosed Elf, which is a little confusing. I've had some of these accounts for a long time.